Hello guys, my name is Rupesh Aswam. I'm to talk about another GK topic, Corona lockdown. Everyone is talking about Corona lockdown for quite a while now. Now, whenever we are talking about Corona lockdown, what is the meaning of lockdown and why our government needed this? Now, let's go through the procedure by which this lockdown has been done. First of all, government needed this lockdown because in lots of cases across the world there are problems and the cases were actually swelling, and in India too the cases have risen up to around 1050. So the way these cases has been implemented and the way these cases has been swelling up, we need this lockdown. I am going to show you one case study where this lockdown didn't happen earlier, and this case study was based in Italy itself, which is the epicenter of corona outbreak nowadays, and it has already surpassed China in terms of death as well as the cases. Now, talk about why do we need this lockdown. Now, in one research we can see that Italy reported its first laboratory confirmed case of novel coronavirus on Feb 20, 2020. 20th Feb 2020 in a small district and small state, Lombardy, they find this case, and this case actually swelled up to 20 within a day. So 20 cases were reported within a day, and this study was done in Italy, and this actually shows that lockdown is actually necessary for all these people, and why this lockdown has been creating problems. And despite all these problems, all these things, we are able to achieve the results which we want to. Now, in this study we can see that in particular website they have already done this, and this website is called Prepaid Respiratory Archive, and what they have actually investigated and formed the report, they said that people appear to have been infected in early January. Now, early January, around January 14th, they started showing symptoms, and apparently seems to have a silent spread of virus in the community for next 50 days. I'm talking about till Feb 20 there were no reports. So till Feb 20 there was no reports of coronavirus in Italy. That was not laboratory confirmed. Yes, there were cases available, but by the time these first cases were reported, the virus has already spread to most area in southern Lombardy. Now, this is the reason, and this is the reason which is actually is epicenter of this epidemic and this pandemic in Italy. Now, whenever we are talking about it, this Lombardy region, a district of 10 million people, that is literally, if you are talking in Indian, that is 1 crore. So we are the people of 135 crores. So people of 1 crore, this epicenter of epidemic happened. So day after confirmed, this silent spread of cases were actually increased, and again this contact tracing, testing of both symptomatic cases and asymptomatic exposure to positive cases helped uncover the ongoing transmission prior to the laboratory confirmation of the first case. In this study, both the cases were actually gone through, and whether those were the cases where this particular epidemic happened, and initially they were in contact with those people who are already got infected. Now, what this report says is the median age of people infected by this virus is 69 years. So mostly the people who got infected due to this virus problem was more than 69 years. And this is the median age. If you are talking about the median age, most of the people are of that particular above the 69 years, and some people are younger than this 69 years. Now, these people, out of these people, 47% people were infected, required hospitalizations. they were required hospitalization, and 80% requires intensive care. So each infected person spread it to 3.1 people, who started decreasing the end of the third week of February. Now each person actually spreaded this virus to 3 persons, 3.1 persons, almost 3 people. So this is how this virus was spreaded. But in the country like us, in the country like India, where people were actually living in a closed circle and closed areas, this number can be swelled up. Now, initially there were only 530 cases on February 28, 2020, but within 8 days, I'm talking about just the 8 days, they were increased by 5,830. So literally 10 times. In within 8 days, they were reported cases was swelled up. Now a district of 10 million, this is what happened. If you're talking about India, it can be a disastrous thing to happen. Now total as of March 28, there have been 86,498 cases in Italy, and this is 5,000 cases more than China's. China is actually reported cases in China was literally 82,000 or 81,996. 9,134 deaths were reported in Italy till March 28, and this is the highest in the world. Almost 900, more than 900 deaths were reported last day. So actually this is the problematic thing for all of us. Now these authors of this particular report were talking about all this data, and they have collected this data, epidemiological data, to standardize the interview of confirmed cases and their close contacts. All these cases are the confirmed cases. I'm not saying any cases which are not actually diagnosed. Yes, these are the confirmed cases, and these confirmed cases and the close contacts were actually identified in this study. Now all this information gathered were based upon the clinical features, symptom onset, respiratory tract specimen results, hospitalization, and the contact tracing. All of these results are actually the cases between January 14 and March 8. Now if we can see the progression of disease. This first case was reported on Feb 20, 2020, with 20 more cases reported on the same day or the same time. 530 cases, as we already shown, was swelled to 5,830 by March 8, and by March 28 you can see 86,498 cases with a 9,134 deaths, and this is really a very disastrous and very difficult thing for India to control. So think about India. If you're talking about in India can be epidemic, India can be epicenter of this epidemic. We don't have that much of resources. If you're talking about India, the problem can be a disastrous problem, because this thing can create a problem which we cannot solve, which one government cannot solve. Now talk about India's response. What was India's response in this epidemic? Everyone is blaming government of India for this, but let me remind you one thing, that government of India has been doing all in particular that they could have done to make this thing work. Now if you're talking about India's efforts, what they have done is, now look at this particular pic from the Hinduist. On January 17, advisory issued to avoid travel to India. It was long before cases were actually shown in India. Now the thermal scanning of passengers from China and Hong Kong was actually took place from the January 18 to. Now from the Feb 3, e-visa suspended for Chinese citizens. On Feb 22, advisory to avoid travel to Singapore. Scanning effects from Kathmandu, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia. It is long before the first cases was actually evaluated, or actually took positive cases were identified. From the Feb 26, advisory to avoid travel to Iran, Italy, and South Korea. As I have already shown that in Italy, the initial cases were around the first case reported was Feb 20. So on Feb 26, government has already put the advisory to avoid travel to these locations. Now from the March 3rd, already suspension of visa for Italy, Iran, South Korea, Japan and China took place. From the March 4, universal screening of international flights took place. From the March 10, self-monitoring was actually done and the self-quarantine was actually took place, and they were put mandatory terms for these travel history to some people. Now from the March 11, travelers arriving from China, Italy, Iran, Korea, France, Spain, Germany shall be quarantined for 14 days. We're talking about the initial days. From the March 16, this expanded compulsory quarantine took place. From the March 17, travels from Afghanistan, Philippines, Malaysia prohibited, and from the Feb 19, actually all the international flights were actually suspended. So this was the India's response. Day before yesterday, our PM has announced for PM Cares Fund, and this fund actually shows that what is the meaning of this PM Cares is a Prime Minister Citizenship Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund. This fund you can actually contribute, and you can actually help India to recover from these cases of COVID-19. And yes, we can save ourselves, and we can save this India, this great country, to be a part of this fight against COVID-19. Thank you guys. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, and Jai Hind. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.